Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Welcome Back Kotter. Up Your Nose with a Rubber Hose is a board game based on the popular television show in the past, Welcome Back Kotter. And it's going to star the Sweathogs, the four that you're used to, Freddy, Boom Boom Washington, Horseshack, Epstein, and Barbarino, and two girls. They can have girls in the game. You're going to get Rosalie, and you're going to get Hotsy Totsy. And that's going to make up the 6 possible Sweathogs that you can be. Mr. Woodman and Mr. Kotter are there by cards that you can land on. It's a simple roll and move. You're going to roll the dice, you're going to move that many spaces. Now, there are branching paths. You decide which word you want to go after. Then I guess you're the bravest one to say, up your nose with a rubber hose. And I guess that works. But the game is a roll and move. And I would guess mostly like teenagers and adults are watching the TV show. And why would they want to play a roll and move game that's this simple? I don't think they would. Now, when I play with my kids, it works. The IP they could care less about. But we had some fun, like playing some videos of them and acting out the characters. And they goofed on it. My kids are good natured like that. But surely they'd rather play an IP that they're more familiar with than something from the 70s and 80s that they're unfamiliar with. So even that doesn't really work that well. But if you're a fan of Welcome Back Kotter, I think this is the board game. The card game is even sillier than this. I think this works fine enough. But just know that you're not getting much out of it. For me, it's a keeper for nostalgia, but this is really, really a purge. So here's Welcome Back Kotter, the Up Your Nose with a Rubber Hose game starring the Sweathogs. This is a very long box for no particular purpose whatsoever, except for they decided not to put another fold in the board. So you're going to get a board. You see Mr. Kotter, Mr. Woodman over there, and spaces for each of the players. You can see here the instructions are printed on here, which we'll take a look at, but empty space galore. You're going to have these little cheap up your nose with rubber hose cards. These are like your victory points. These little cards here will be like the community chest or chance cards of the game. You have Mr. Woodman and Mr. Kotter over here. They're just cheap paper. The characters you're going to have in the game are Freddy Boom Boom Washington, Horseshack. You're going to get Epstein, Barbarino, and then to have some girls in the game. You're going to have Hotsy Totsy, Holly, and Rosalie, who is called Rosie here. A 6-sided die, and a rubber nose to stick up your nose if you win the game. Components are okay. This is mass market stuff of the time. You know, nothing to write home about, but not awful either. Here's the rules, printed on the divider in the box. Very common at the type. No picture of the components, but it's pretty easy to get through this. How to prepare the game and then playing it through. Very easy. I mean, if you played most board games, if you didn't have this, you could probably still figure out how to play this game with no problems. Setup is very easy. Take the Woodman cards and the Kotter cards and you shuffle them. You put the word cards up here at the top. Everybody picks who they're going to be, say Barbarino, and you put them on your starting spot. If they're not in the game, you just don't utilize them. To play the game, you're going to roll the dice, and you're going to move that number of spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, there are paths you can go down, different paths. And if you land on a spot, it might tell you to draw a Kotter card, for example. Then you simply just grab a Kotter card, and you do what it says. This one says, little quotes from the show. It's the 5th time I've caught you sleeping. Thank goodness it's Friday. Take a word. You've learned one thing today. You're not very good at learning. Return a word to the board. So, just little things that will come up. If you land on a Woodman space, you'll do one of his cards, which tend to be a little bit more negative. Beginning to like you, take a word from any Sweathog. I like to kill you, but they won't let me. Lose your next turn. Out of the way, you're holding up my progress. Go back 4 spaces. That kind of stuff. Stuff that was kind of normal to have at the time. You don't have to end on an exact count, but if you get to the end, you get to take one of the words. If you're able to get one of each word first, you will win the game. There are spots on the board that allow you to move other players or give other players turns, and you'll have to do that. Now, you'll see the turn order will just become chaotic at some point, but it's just an extra turn that you're getting, not a new one. If you're able to get all of these, you gain the rubber hose. You can stick it up your nose if you like, and you can be the winner of the game. Who should buy this game? Are we serious here? Fans of Welcome Back Kotter. That's it. There's not a lot else here. You're not going to want to pull this out with anybody who doesn't know the IP. There's really nothing. It's a roll and move. You know, my kids and I had a lark on it, but they're not going to pull this out all the time. We'd play something else like Wacky Races or some other game. This is not going to pull. The funniest part about it is the little rubber hose they do give you. Theoretically, you're supposed to put up your nose when you win and take a picture, I guess. I don't know. Purge, really. You're keeping this only for nostalgic purposes.